Have you ever wondered how the world's most populous country manages its land and housing policies? This is a question of monumental proportions considering the sheer size and complexity of China. The story of land reform and housing policies in the People's Republic of China is one of significant shifts and dramatic transformations. Since its establishment in 1949, China has undergone remarkable changes, spearheaded by the likes of Mao Zedong and Deng Xiaoping. From the redistribution of land to the peasantry, which brought about its own set of challenges, to the state's control over housing allocation, resulting in severe shortages and congestion in urban areas. The narrative took a turn with Deng Xiaoping's economic reforms in the 1980s, leading to the liberalization of the housing sector and sparking a real estate boom. Join us as we delve into the fascinating evolution of land and housing policies in China. Imagine a time when land belonged to everyone and no one simultaneously. Welcome to Mao Zedong's China. It was the late 40s, and China was undergoing a seismic shift. With the establishment of the People's Republic of China in 1949, land ownership was set to transform. Under the leadership of Mao Zedong, the Communist Party of China embarked on an ambitious plan. Land reforms aimed at redistributing land to the peasantry. This was a time of radical change, a time when the land, the very soil beneath one's feet, was up for grabs. Mao's government sought to break away from the feudalistic practices of the past, where a handful of landlords owned most of the land. The plan was simple on paper, but complex in practice. Land was seized from landlords and distributed among the rural poor. This was not a gentle process. It was a revolution, fraught with conflict and hardship. The redistribution was often carried out with little regard for the landlord's rights or well-being. In many cases, this led to their persecution and even death. On the surface, it seemed like a victory for the peasantry. They had land, a resource that they had been denied for generations. But the reality was far from this ideal. The redistributed land was often small and unproductive. The peasants lacked the necessary tools, seeds, and knowledge to farm it effectively. The result was that many found themselves struggling to eke out a living from the very land that was meant to liberate them. But the reach of Mao's reforms extended beyond the rural farmlands. In the burgeoning urban areas, the state's control stretched to housing allocation. Under the banner of equality, the government took charge of where and how people lived. In theory, this was meant to ensure that everyone had a roof over their heads. But in practice, it led to severe shortages and congestion. Housing became a scarce commodity, with families often crammed into small apartments. The state's control over housing also meant that there was little incentive for construction or maintenance. This resulted in a decline in living conditions and a rise in discontent. Despite the hardships, these reforms marked a significant shift in China's socio-economic landscape. They uprooted the old feudal system and sowed the seeds of a new society, one where land and housing were no longer the privilege of the few, but the right of the many. Yet, as we'll see, this was just the beginning. The Mao era set the stage for a dramatic shift in land and housing policies in the years to come. The redistribution of land and the state's control over housing were just the first steps in a journey that would transform China into the economic powerhouse that we know today. The Mao era set the stage for a dramatic shift in land and housing policies in the years to come. As China entered a new era under Deng Xiaoping, so too did its approach to land and housing. The 1980s were a transformative period for China, not just politically, but economically as well. Deng Xiaoping, China's paramount leader during this time, initiated a series of economic reforms that would forever change the face of Chinese society, particularly when it came to the housing sector. Before Deng, housing in China was largely state-controlled. This meant that the government was in charge of allocating housing, and there was little room for market forces to play a role. This led to a housing shortage and congestion in urban areas, as the supply of housing couldn't keep up with the demand. Deng Xiaoping, however, saw things differently. He believed that the market, not the state, should dictate the housing sector, and so he initiated a series of reforms aimed at liberalizing the housing market. These reforms transformed the housing sector from a state-controlled entity into a market-driven force. This was a radical transformation for China, and it had profound impacts on the country's housing sector. For one, it unleashed a pent-up demand for housing, leading to a real estate boom that has lasted for decades. This boom has resulted in an explosion of construction and development, transforming China's cities into modern metropolises filled with high-rise apartments and skyscrapers. But the liberalization of the housing sector did more than just spark a real estate boom. It also changed the way people in China thought about housing. No longer was housing just a basic need. It became a symbol of social status and a form of wealth. The dream of home ownership became deeply ingrained in the Chinese psyche, and owning property became a key goal for many Chinese citizens. The market-driven housing sector also created new opportunities for entrepreneurs and investors. The real estate market became a key driver of China's economic growth, contributing significantly to the country's GDP. The profits from real estate development flowed into other sectors of the economy, helping to fuel China's economic miracle. But these changes were not without their challenges. The rapid development of the real estate market led to skyrocketing housing prices, putting home ownership out of reach for many Chinese citizens. This has led to a growing wealth gap and has sparked concerns about housing affordability and social inequality. Furthermore, the real estate boom has also led to concerns about a potential housing bubble. The rapid increase in housing prices combined with speculative investment has led some to worry that the real estate market could crash, with potentially devastating effects on the Chinese economy. The Deng era marked a turning point in China's land and housing policies, but it also sowed the seeds for future challenges. Despite these concerns, there's no denying that Deng's economic reforms and the liberalization of the housing sector have had a profound impact on China, shaping the country's economic landscape and changing the lives of its people in ways that were unimaginable just a few decades ago. In today's China, owning property is more than just having a roof over your head. It has transformed into a tangible representation of social identity and a passport to welfare benefits. In modern times, a house in China is not merely a place to live, but a badge of social status. It signifies prosperity and success, a symbol of achievement for the middle and upper class. Home ownership has become the Chinese dream, a goal that many strive to attain. It is a testament to their hard work and a reflection of their accomplishments. But the significance of owning a house in China goes beyond the symbolism. The government has linked property ownership to the entitlement of welfare benefits. A house is not just a home, but a gateway to social services. It's a ticket to better healthcare, education, and other essential services. In this way, the Chinese government has intertwined the notions of social identity and home ownership, making the housing market a crucial component of its social welfare system. However, the evolution of land and housing policies has not come without its share of societal issues. The transformation of housing into a market-driven force has created a new set of challenges. One of these is the fluctuation of the housing market. As the demand for housing increased, so did the prices. The real estate boom led to skyrocketing house prices, making homeownership an unattainable dream for many. This has resulted in a growing divide between the haves and the have-nots, creating a chasm of inequality. Those who can afford to buy a house enjoy better social services, while those who can't are left behind. The fluctuations of the housing market have also led to economic instability. With so much of the economy tied to the housing sector, any instability in the market can send shockwaves through the economy. The housing bubble, a result of the uncontrolled real estate boom, poses a significant risk. If the bubble bursts, it could trigger a financial crisis, affecting not just the housing sector, but the entire economy. The housing situation in China is complex and multifaceted. It's a reflection of the broader socio-economic challenges that the country faces. It's a tale of success and growth, but also of inequality and instability. It's a story of how a roof over one's head has become a symbol of social identity, a gateway to welfare benefits, and a catalyst for economic growth. The real estate market in China today reflects broader socio-economic challenges in the country. It's a mirror that reflects the triumphs and trials of modern China, a testament to the country's journey through land reform, economic growth, and social transformation. From land redistribution under Mao to the real estate boom sparked by Deng's reforms, China's journey in managing its land and housing has been nothing short of extraordinary. As we've traversed this path, we've seen how the country's land and housing policies have evolved over time, reflecting broader socio-economic changes and challenges. In the early days of the People's Republic, under Mao Zedong's leadership, we saw the implementation of land reforms aimed at redistributing land to the peasantry. This period was marked by hardships for rural populations, with the state's control over housing in urban areas leading to severe shortages and congestion. It was a time of great upheaval and transformation, as the country sought to establish its identity on the global stage. The next phase took us into the era of Deng Xiaoping, who ushered in a period of economic reforms in the 80s. These reforms led to the liberalization of the housing sector, transforming it from a state-controlled entity into a market-driven force. This shift unleashed a pent-up demand for housing and sparked a real estate boom that continues to reverberate across the country today. In modern times, housing in China has evolved into a symbol of social identity and entitlement to welfare benefits. Property ownership has become closely linked to access to social services, underlining the importance of housing in the socio-economic fabric of the country. Yet, this evolution has not been without its challenges. Market fluctuations and inequality have emerged as significant issues, reflecting broader societal concerns. As we've seen, the evolution of land and housing policies in China is a story of transformation, challenge, and resilience. It's a story that continues to unfold, shaping the lives of billions. From the struggles of the Mao era to the boom of the Deng era and the complexities of the present day, the journey of land and housing policies in China is a fascinating tale of change and adaptation. It's a narrative that continues to shape the country's economic growth, urbanization, and societal development. As we move forward, it will be interesting to see how this story continues to evolve.